All right, we're here live for a very special impromptu episode of Tiny's Universe, but more directly, a Authentic Editions AMA. So there have been some questions and concerns, some upset in the community around some of what's happening with Authentic Editions, and some of it I completely understand, and I am. It may be hard to tell, but I am
episode of Tiny's Universe, but more
and
we're streaming.
There we go with the echo from the YouTube in the background. So yeah, we'll just keep the technical difficulties coming as well. So actually, let me kind of reset for just a second, and then we're going to start bringing people in and just kind of jumping right into it. But my name is Evan Matthews, co-founder and CEO at Macroverse. Also Authentic Editions. So Authentic Editions is a publishing imprint that we created about a year ago, specifically to reproduce Golden Age and Silver Age comics in a new type of facsimile. So our goal is to create a edition of classic comics and material that generally people can, have had a hard time getting a hold of, largely because they're very rare or very expensive, or just kind of key books that maybe a lot of people haven't seen. And so being able to image and restore and bring those things back to a place where they look and feel and even smell like they would have if you pulled them off the newsstand or the spinner rack, 70, 80 years ago in many cases. So that's the intention of the project. We launched 2 collections so far on Kickstarter. The first one was for our Pre-Code Horror collection, 70 books from 70 to 80 years ago. And a bunch of them, very hard to get. Probably the gem of that collection is a Suspense Comics number 3, where there's literally 50 of them, less than 50 of them that are known to exist in CGC cases. So sorry, a little tangent side note. This is like, we feel so reverent to this material that just the handling of that book felt like we're Indiana Jones dodging traps, trying to bring this thing back to life. So Pre-Code Horror second collection is Archie, a bunch of Archie books from 75, 80 years ago. The first appearance of Archie, the first appearance of Betty and Veronica, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and the runs that go along with that. And so when we got into this, this is the place I want to kind of level set. Yes, it is Pre-Code Cologne, Kevin. We have joked internally for a while that we should do an actual old comic scent. I think call it newsprint or something like that. But you gotta spray it and then walk through it. The mad respect, I'm gonna talk about the timeline in just a minute as well for all of this. There's a piece of this story which I'm gonna have to intentionally sidestep for a little bit longer. Some of the details about why the initial fulfillment was so delayed is a fascinating and incredible tale that I actually really can't wait to share with everyone. It would be a pretty amazing podcast. It would be a pretty amazing documentary series. And there are some reasons I can't quite go into all of those details yet, but it will be told, and it'll be fascinating. But despite that, we have had a number of challenges that we've had to work through. Starkiller, we're going to talk about shipping in just a minute. United Methodist Church of Danbury, we don't foresee any additional paper materials issues, but honestly, as we've gone through this process, who knows? So that's kind of some background. This is where we had to go through this process, and this is what I want to kind of back up into, and then we'll get into the details, and then we'll answer a bunch of questions. So when we started this, the way that we went into developing this is, once we had this idea and we realized that we could utilize the original books, like, copies of the original books as the source material, because in most cases there are no files. Like, you can't go, Archie does not have a copy of Archie #1, which was kind of mind-blowing when we started talking to them. There is no source file for a Suspense #3, for example. So the only way to do that is to go back to the original books and crack them open and carefully image them, and in the case of Suspense #3, pray that it doesn't disintegrate into dust, and you're doing that. And then we developed a whole restoration process where our goal is to remove the aging, the any staining, and bring it back to what it would have looked like, essentially reverse engineer it back to what the printer plates look like when they go to print. And so we had to go through a number of permutations of figuring out how to do that. And so when sorry, I'm a little scatterbrained here, but when we started this, we produced about 10 sample pages. So to prove that we could do it, we got a hold of some books, we did some sample pages, we figured out this kind of initial version of the process. We used that to then estimate like the timeline that it would take to produce the books. Working with the printers, working with some other members of our team and some consultants. So I want people to know, like, we went into this with every piece in place. This, some people have asked over the course of this project, like, you guys just making this up as you gone along. And, as it turns out, to some degree, yes, but that wasn't what we thought going into it. Like, we're working with printers that print Marvel and DC. We're working with a print broker that works for every major publisher in the industry. We're working with a fulfillment company that is, extremely specialized in what it's going to take to put all of these packages together. And we put all that in place before we launched the project. So we went into it very confident. Like, our original timeline of launch this in October, ship it in December was not crazy to us when we actually, launched the project. Like, every assurance from the team that we were working with that was meant to do that production was in place. So, we were like, yes, this is going to happen. That was why we felt confident to go ahead and launch Archie in December. Was like, this is kind of the cadence that we wanted to be on. We planned to do 6 to 8 additional collections in 2025. We're clearly not going to do that at this point until we get these into people's hands. But that was the plan. Like, this is not meant to be a one-off project. This is meant to be the beginning of a massive publishing initiative. And the other thing, which, I haven't said publicly, and I'm been debating whether or not to say it, is we've invested over $1 million in this project. So, like, there's not an insubstantial amount of investment in the books, in the processing, in, all of the different components. You can't buy this paper for 20 books. You have to buy it by the truckload. So there's, so somebody's question about materials. We have a lot of paper at the moment. When we launched the campaign with fluorescence, having talked to the printer, like, no problem. Lots of companies that have done fluorescence. Then we got into like what we actually wanted to do with the fluorescence. And if you think about what other companies have done with fluorescent covers, it's a spot. It's like one color. It's like one spot color. You look at like, famous copy of Incredible Hulk. That's like the, awesome fluorescent cover. It's one giant green background. That's like one PMS color printed as fluorescence. We wanted to actually print these covers fully with fluorescent inks. And it turns out no one's ever done that before. So it took us, about 6 weeks going back and forth with the printer just to figure out, could we do it? We ended up doing like 8 different trials and tests of like different flavors and combinations to see what was possible. And we finally got it across the finish line. These are going to be a first of their kind, in the comics industry. Red foils. So, These are red foil samples that I picked out, just a little while ago. We got the first quote from Red Foils. We delivered all the books to print. Then we got the, news from the printer, like, oh, here, pick a red foil. So I picked the red foil. They're like, well, that'll deliver in 8 weeks. I'm like, 8 weeks is not going to work for you guys. What else we got? So now we picked another red foil, which is going to deliver at the time in 4 weeks. So, that does mean now getting to the timeline, and again, I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but what that does mean is that here's where we are. All the interiors have printed. So all the interiors for the Frightening 15, 100% printed. They are sitting at the printer. The regular covers and the fluorescent covers have also printed. So those are in the process of being stapled, and they don't call them stapled, but they're in the process of, the covers and the interiors being brought together. The red foil has not arrived yet. So the red foils and the silver foils are stuck until the red foils arrive. We expect them, this has been a little while ago, so we expect it, very, very shortly. But those two are going to print together, and then those will get put together. So those will be all the different sets for the Frightening 15. We don't want to make anybody wait any longer than we have to. So what we're now going to do is split this shipment into 2 shipments. There's going to be bound. Thank you, Frankie. You're right. There's going to be 2 shipments. There's going to be anyone that ordered the core set of the Frightening 15 and or the fluorescent set. Those are going to go to the fulfillment center, and then those are going to get shipped. About 2 weeks later, the foils will be done, and then those will get sent to the fulfillment center, and those will get shipped. So they're going to come in 2 batches. If you only ordered the regular covers or the fluorescent covers, you're going to get those shipments first. If you ordered the foils, unfortunately, we're going to have to make you wait until all of the foils arrive so that we can send those in one shipment. If you then ordered any of the other sets, the rest of the 55 books, the Chamber of Chills sets or suspense sets or the complete runs, those are still to come, and we're going to have to come back with a new timeline once these are out the door. What we realized working with the printer, and just because of all these delays that we've run into, over 50% of the people that backed the campaign just got some flavor of the Frightening 15, so we prioritized getting those out the door. You will still get those first, even if you bought other sets or if you bought the complete sets. The rest of them will just come maybe in one additional batch, maybe in a couple of additional batches, depending on what we can schedule with the printer. One of the things that we've learned through this process is that no matter what you hear from the printer, no matter how professional they are, no matter how, tried and true, and yes, you're printing 100 books for Marvel this week, that doesn't mean that just because everything is ready you're going on press next week. It means it might be next week, it might be 10 days from now, and they will not give you a date until it is actually really going to happen. So until literally every box is checked, as we've given updates on the Kickstarter, as I've had new information where it's okay, this is the date. That was the information that I actually had from the printer or from the people that we were working with, and then that has slipped multiple times. So I'm the CEO of this company. It is ultimately my responsibility, and I absolutely take that responsibility. And the learning curve that we have gone through on this has been pretty incredible. The number of hurdles that we've had to solve for have been pretty incredible. And everything that we've done has set us up for success into Archie and then beyond. So, I want people that some of the questions that I most directly want to kind of assuage with this is that there's no bait and switch here. One person, has mentioned a couple of times, and now we can get into kind of some of these specific comments. One person's mentioned a couple of times, we're printing more copies than we said we would. Well, yep. I think that's in relation to, we had limited edition rewards, 100 sets of the everything set was originally what was in the Kickstarter. And, this is a big part of how we're kind of learning this as well. There are certain restraints and restrictions around how you can set things up on Kickstarter. So is there a FOMO element of that? Of course there is. We're trying to get people excited about this project. But also what we wanted to say was these complete sets, guaranteeing that there would be 100 of the full box sets, that felt like we can guarantee that. And then the rest of it is going to be based on what people order. So is it possible that someone could order all the different runs and then also make a complete set? Absolutely. And I don't see any way for us to have protected against that, if protected against that is even the right word. And so now I'm going to start inviting people in, but I want to talk about San Diego Comic-Con. So San Diego Comic-Con next weekend. You guys will be the first to hear this. We're doing a bunch of stuff to be announced with Titan Comics. So not just these projects, but a lot of other things as well. So we've gotten very close with the team at Titan. We've got not just Authentic Editions projects with them. We've got some new material with them. We've got other collaborations with them. Some of you may or may not know we've been doing another line that we have called Mixed Print, which are unique one of X covers for their Heatseeker series. We've done, closing in on 8 issues of that with them. So we've gotten very close with the team there, and that's who we're partnering up with to deliver and release again, very small batch just of the fluorescence to get these in front of people. So, one person said, in the comments, this is like a betrayal, or, that no one should have these before you guys should. I agree with you that no one should have these before you should. I wish you already had them and this would be a non-issue. As it turned out with the timing, they're printed and they're shipping. So they're shipping for backers, they're shipping to the fulfillment center. And for San Diego, they're shipping to San Diego. This is the same print run. This is the same stock. There's no let's rush these for San Diego. The timing just happened to work out that way. And for those that frustrates and that pisses off, that sucks. And I'm sorry. Yeah. At the same time, how can we not want people to see these? One of the things, for those of you that got the annual, you have to touch it. You have to see it. You don't really get what this is until you hold it in your hands. It's conceptually cool, but you don't really understand it until you see it. And so the chance to have what is going to be 100 copies, literally just 100 copies of the fluorescence of each of the Frightening 15, for people to be able to see what it is. We're not even really advertising this. We haven't really even done any promotion about it. It's just going to be at the Titan booth. And so as we run into people, as people stumble across it, maybe we'll put up a Facebook post today or tomorrow. Comic-Con starts on Wednesday, so it's not like we've done a ton of promotion around this. So this is just something that is going to let us get it in front of people. They can touch it. We're hoping that as this project continues and develops, that, this word will start to spread. Quite frankly, when you guys get these box sets, I know, a couple people have been, wishing that we had done something different with the boxes, but the boxes are freaking awesome. And that is completely and only exclusive to the Kickstarter. I want to see a ton of unboxing videos, and I don't think you're going to be able to resist doing them. So again, I will bring people in, but I do have to just show this real quick. So, I posted these, these are just comps, but these are the box set. So when you see how these, look how this is going to look on your shelf. This is all four sets of the Frightening 15. And they're awesome. Again, this is kind of the thin paper comps that I just signed off on, for them to go to printing. But, these are going to be embossed and debossed. This is silver ink up here when they print. And, when you open the flap at the bottom, there is another one of our nice QR codes for you to redeem a special badge on Macroverse specific for having collected the different box sets. So we're really trying to make this a experience for you guys, for the backers, that no one else is going to have. So yes, some people will get some copies of the books in their hands before you, and that does suck from a certain point of view. And I hear that, I get that. And at the same time, we got to let people see what these are. And there's going to be no better place to do that than by letting the fans at the world's biggest comic convention start to see what they are and start to spread the word. Our intention is not to take them there to put them into a bunch of dealers' hands to watch them try to, spike them on the secondary market. We may not be able to prevent some of that from happening, but that's not why they're there. They're there to expose a certain number of people to what this product is, to be able to talk to potential other partners and ways of expanding the reach of the product line. And I want to say one other thing, and then I'm going to finally shut up. the point of this project is not to make these super exclusive. It's to balance collectability, which to me is very important. Lifelong collector myself, very important to, make these collectible and make them unique and special. This version that we produce for Kickstarter will never be printed again in this way. Like the way that we've printed them for the kind of first printing for backers, there will not be another print run of these. But it would be against the entire mission of the project to say that there would never be an expansion of them. Like we don't want, 3,000 people to have a copy of Suspense Number 3. We want 100,000 people to be able to experience what this book is. And why wouldn't we? Like this, for me, there's a commerce element to this. Of course, we're a business. We're trying to make a profit with the things that we do, of course. But at the same time, like this has really become a passion project. It's an art project. It's a historical preservation project. There are things in these books which are so insensitive and so crazy by modern standards, and yet they have to be preserved. Like this is such a snapshot into a time and a place in pop culture, in comics history, in literally the way that society felt about certain things is captured in these short horror stories. It's a fascinating snapshot of a historical artifact. And I believe more and more and more people should be exposed to that so that we have this very cool artifact of a time and a place. And yes, this collectible, incredible experience built around it. But this is not meant to limit access. This is meant to ultimately expand to the biggest audience that we can possibly reach. And so I think we've got to find ways to balance those two concerns while also, and let me say this and then I really will shut up, while also like you guys, the people that directly supported these projects, I cannot express enough how much I appreciate your support, your incredible patience, with very few exceptions, just the incredible amount of support and leeway that you've given to us to figure this out and to get to this point. So it is not underappreciated. It is not falling on deaf ears that you guys put your time and your money and your effort. And honestly, even the people that are complaining the loudest, like you wouldn't be saying anything if you didn't care. And that means a lot to me. So I will now shut up. There are several people waiting to be brought in. Actually, we might have lost a few people, but Drew is waiting to be brought in. And then Tiny, I would love it if there's anything I missed, then we can address that as well. But Drew, you're waiting, so let me go ahead and bring you in to the conversation. And now we will start taking questions as well.
Cool. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Awesome. Just quickly, I have a comment, a suggestion, and then a question, please, if I may.
Absolutely.
Quick comment, just to give you props. It's clear that this is a labor of love for you, but I'm sure this has been stressful on a level that you can't even articulate. So just want to give you credit and let you know you're doing great and that it's appreciated. I'm sure the logistics have not been fun. So just want to kick things off for you.
Thank you. The logistics have been quite an adventure, no doubt about
I'll bet. And I'll bet in the sense I don't even know. Suggestion, I heard you mentioning, and I'm not an everything buyer, but it just occurred to me, and I'm not an expert either. You mentioned how you're trying to like guard against someone getting past that limited number. I don't know if this is the right answer, but maybe even just like adding a certificate of authenticity exclusive to those things. That might be a quick answer for you that popped in my mind when you were talking about it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, just one throw that at you. And question, I mean, I know you're not going to divulge upcoming projects, but just to throw it out there, since you already have like a good relationship with Archie, is there any chance on the table maybe doing like a set for like Archie's Pals and Gals and doing like he issues like 23 and 34 and something like that?
Yeah, I mean, there are other collections that we're not ready to announce, but we're absolutely doing more Archie. We're absolutely doing more pre-code. So like both of those categories, like that, those collections will continue. And, in our conversations with Archie, they're celebrating their 85th anniversary next year. And they're the only modern publisher that has never ceased publication. Like, even Marvel and DC have, had times where they've had to change their line, or our Atlas became Timely, which became Marvel, or maybe reverse of that. But Archie's the only one that's been in continuous publication since the original. Thank you, Sonny. Since the original inception of the company. So yes, definitely more Archie coming. As we get into that, actually would love to have those of you who are the Archie fans in this group, maybe even we could spin up a little conversation about exactly what that should look like.
I mean, I'm not a big person, but I'm game for a conversation. If you have even a suggestion of like who to email or where to go, like if you want to really put your suggestions in the hat and have our voices heard, I'm all ears for something like that. Yeah,
I mean, I'll piggyback on that for just a second. I mean, my approach to everything we're building, from the authentic edition side to the digital platform side to everything else, is like we have to try stuff. And so I think, some of where I bump into, trying to navigate this and, wanting to have these kinds of live conversations is, we may find, based on the results of going to San Diego with this small, number of books, we may find that was a total mistake and we shouldn't have done it. Or we may find that, something happens that makes the collection more valuable for everyone here. We don't know. And so, we have to try things, like working, for 25 years in developing projects and products. Like, we have to be able to learn as we go through the process to be able to apply that learning to the next things. And so it's a little more direct in software development. We try something with the platform and nobody likes it. Well, that's easy to just like push that feature aside and do something else. But with these physical, tangible products, like we actually have to ship this and get it to people and, go through this process to get to that point, get the feedback, see what pieces of it worked, what worked in that campaign versus other things that didn't work in that campaign. We learned a bunch from Archie based on what we originally did with Pre-Code Horror. That'll get applied to the next one. So, we're on this journey, and we hope that people will come on this journey with us as we continue to refine and develop and just make this a smoother and smoother process, ongoingly.
Cool. Well, I appreciate the work. I really do.
Yeah. Thank you, Drew. I appreciate you. Thank you. Feel free to hang out, or if you want to jump off, you're welcome to do that as well. And if anybody else does want to come in and ask a question live, the link is in the Facebook group, and it's also in the comments on YouTube.
I'll ask one more thing if no one else is waiting.
Yeah, please.
Now that we have a definitive timeline for the Pre-Code Horror, do they give you definitive for Archie yet, or that's still kind of up in the air?
So Archie is the unfortunate victim of those logistics, in that we have to ship Pre-Code Horror before we can schedule Archie with the printer. So it's not an infinite timeline, but it is kind of a follow-on to that timeline. So I can't specifically say it's going to be August or it's going to be September. It is going to be this year. I can definitively say that. But it's just how quickly we can kind of get through the next stages to then get into that. And then what I can also say is we've had some lovely conversations with Archie directly over the past couple of weeks. And so there's going to be some fun things that we can actually do directly with them, which will, I think, impact not only the way that we can, get this project fulfilled and out the door, but also into future portions of the collection as well. So we're working even more directly with them than we were, when we started.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to pop out of here, leave room for anyone else, but thank you again. I really appreciate it, guys.
Thank you, Drew. Appreciate it. I'm going to just go through and answer a couple of questions in the chat real quickly. Sonny, it's so funny you say awaiting the seduction of the innocent companion to these books. We have talked about that so many times. Doing a historically accurate reproduction of Seduction of the Innocent would be quite the companion. Let's see. Love to see some Pink Panther. Yes, we have talked about some of that as well. Frankie, I'm just happy to be a part of this. I'm not worried about SCCC. Appreciate that. So appreciate you guys.
They were worried about the fluorescent. They heard you say something about 100 copies.
Oh yeah. So just to be clear, 100 copies is what's going to be at San Diego. That's not the total 100. There's not a total of 100, but 100 copies will be at San Diego. So for anyone that's curious, no book in this collection has a print run higher than 5,000 copies, and those are the ones that are part of the Frightening 15 that are crossing the biggest swath of collectors. The red foils have a print run of under 400. So that is the spread of all of that. And Tiny, I'm going to ask you to vamp for just a second because my son who just had surgery is telling me that he needs help with something. So
all right. Well, I am Tiny Universe. For those of you that don't know, basically I started out as a Macroverse super fan during the Web3 times and have carried over and kind of become the voice of Macroverse throughout the community. First thing I kind of wanted to say, since I've got a minute, anybody that I talk to in the chat room on Facebook and anybody that I interact with online, I absolutely hate texting and messaging because you don't hear tone and stuff like that. So I just hope nobody takes offense to anything I say or takes anything wrong. I don't want to come across as aggressive or anything like that with anybody. I think I get super defensive when it comes to Macroverse because I have so much love for everybody in the community and the family. And it's hard for me to hear people upset because I know that everything is happening and is working. It's just hiccups happen. And, my big thing there is just, I want to keep the love going within the Macroverse community. So hopefully nobody takes any offense in there. And then if you're not in the chat, definitely, if you're on Facebook, jump in, get into the chat. We've got all kinds of badges, different things that you can collect. It's fun, but biggest thing is talking to each other. Evan,
back.
Hopefully everything's good. First thing I wanted to say to you is I appreciate you taking time to come in today and come in so quickly. I think I've seen a few comments kind of posted with some people upset and I didn't interact with it. I just kind of let it go. I was just explaining, I get so defensive. I don't want to be like jumping up. But today I felt like it was just more than one comment. So I started interacting and I felt like it was a good conversation all in all, but I wanted to bring it to your attention that kind of things were stirring. And I'm just really, I'm glad that you acknowledged it so quickly and coming in to talk to everybody because, there's only so much I can say when I'm telling everybody, hey, I'm proud.
Well, and unfortunately, you can't pretend to not be biased, which I appreciate, and also is just a fact. So, I appreciate you helping, kind of keep my focus on this, and to say this group, all the backers, but the group that have come into the Facebook group, that have taken the time to make comments, that have taken the time, even to be the ones to call out things that they, that they feel like shouldn't be happening or have been frustrating. That is my attitude, is that is truly useful feedback. And I know one person was like, I'm so sick of you saying I hear you, that means you don't hear me, which I get that. It's a different way of saying I hear you. I get that. And I've got to synthesize all of the things that we're getting, all the things that we've got to balance on the business side of the project. My responsibility is to you as backers. My responsibility is also to how to make this a real business that can sustain itself. And so we've got to find ways to balance both of those things. But at the end of the day, like, you know, you guys are the people that make this possible. If no one wants to buy this product, then there's no reason for this product to exist. So, you know, it is the fans and the backers and the people that are excited about this, you know, as hopefully as excited about it as I am. You know, this is why we get to do this. And I don't take that for granted, but at all. You know, I also hope that people will be excited about growing this, that, you know, it's exciting to be kind of early days in a small group, in a small community, and kind of be there first. And I love that too. You know, like I am a chronic early adopter. But, you know, we want this to be something that, again, a lot of people get to experience. And we want to do it in a way that preserves collectability at different levels and at different stages. But, you know, this again is not about trying to make this a tiny, you know, collection. It's about taking these things which even the people that own, for the most part, have never seen the interiors of, and making these available for people to read and experience and see this historical artifact and this historical snapshot in a presentation that is as close to the original thing as possible. So, I mean, that's our goal. That's our mission with this project, is to make these widely available. To that point, though, when I say preserving collectability, that doesn't mean every bit of it is going to get, you know, 100,000 copies. It means like I mentioned, the red foils have a print run of about 400. The silver foils have a print run of about 500. And then, you know, everything else is in the $2,000 to $5,000, the 2,000 to 5,000 copy range. If we do ever do a second print, to Sonny's question, just as I was about to say it, then yes, there will be they would be in the indicia as a second printing. So like this run is the first printing of these books, and there will not be additional copies that are part of this first printing. So that's one way that we see keeping these distinct and unique. Also, just so you know, and I'm not announcing that we're doing this, but if we were ever to do a more retail oriented version of this, you can't print, you know, the 10-cent cover prices for retail. Like, you're just actually not allowed to do that. So that would have to be, you know, differentiated in some way as well. So, you know, they would definitely be distinct. And the collector boxes, which I think are incredible, will also only be for Kickstarter backers. So, you know, that will not be a package that we offer in a different format.
So to circle back around, I think someone was asking, man, I can't remember now. Well, definitely the CGC, are they going to be CGC gradable?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
I think I've already seen a graded annual.
I think I've seen one. I think I have seen one person CGC the annual. Yeah. They're definitely possible to grade. You know, I think what I am excited about, and I don't know the difference. They are clearly marked in the indicia that these are, you know, new printings. But you know, I am curious when we put them with the CGC, how quickly they'll recognize that they're brand new. Not that we're like trying to get away with saying that they're not. I don't think that's the point. But we are trying to make them as indistinguishable as possible.
So, and then I think like some of the biggest complaints that I saw were, I'd say like not the biggest complaints, like the most upset people. It almost sounded like there's so many Kickstarters that get
fail
and don't do anything.
Oh yeah,
and
totally.
I feel like that was a concern. And I just, you know, that's not happening 100%. So I wanted to clear that up for sure. One of the other things was the Comic-Con, obviously, that I thought was the most upsetting for people, which to me is exciting. And to clear that up, if it does bother people, I mean, like, kind of like you said, like, I'm sorry, like, it sucks for you, but
well, no, I'm not trying to say it sucks for you, but
I am. No, but here's the thing. It's not like you said, you're not sending out full sets. There's no boxes. There's not full print runs. There's nothing like that. There's no extra printing. This is just something that is extra. It's there. Why not use it at a very large platform when you can, use another name to kind of coexist and push it out there and get it in the public. And like you said, you don't know until you feel it and hold it. And I mean, like, to give that opportunity to some people, I'm all about it. And not only is that going to grow the love, but they're going to talk about it. They're going to tell other people. So I'm all about that. And I did see in one of the updates you posted that those will actually be at a higher price point as well. So,
yes, correct.
I mean, again, like, I don't know.
Yeah, that is a good thing to point out. Like, we will never, ever sell these cheaper than you bought them on Kickstarter. So, if you look even with Archie, the same, and when we did make individual issues available as we were locking the print run for the Frightening 15, they're 50% more expensive than what we sold them for on Kickstarter. And that's with the inclusion of the boxes and the posters and the trading cards and the other things to, make the collection special. So I see Kevin's here with us as well. So Kevin, I'm going to invite you in just a second. I see a couple of other quick questions in the chat, which I want to just quickly address. So someone asked about the indicias. So we took a slightly different approach with the indicia. We did replace it with our own indicia. Like, this is a Macroverse Authentic Editions printing of this material. We also wanted to pay respect and homage to the original publication and the original printer. So while it does have our indicia in it, it also has an original publication by so-and-so on such a date, so that it does, respect the heritage that, where these books came from. So, that was our solution for that. Couple other questions.
One of the ones I saw, which while I'm remembering it, was, what are you guys going to do to compensate? And I want to remind everybody about that annual. That to me is huge. I mean, I think some people might have got that and not think about what it takes to not only make that, print it, and then, figure out the logistics and do it on the fly like that. But you guys created an awesome book. And
I'm really proud of the annual. Most people seem to have really liked it, and I think it's, it is a hint of some things that I think we can do to continue to expand, ways of getting this material in people's hands.
I did see another question where someone was asking if any of them had made it yet internationally, and
so this is a place I will 100% raise my hand and say I and our team has dropped the ball a little bit. We've been, I have an excuse, but at the end of the day, there is no excuse. But we've been so in the weeds on the logistics over the past couple of weeks of making sure that these would actually all get printed and fulfilled and out the door, that there are a number of people, international backers in particular, where a few of you have emailed, a handful of you have messaged, and I just haven't been able to get back to you with an answer. And so if you're in that category, if you're an international backer who hasn't gotten the annual yet, we have a new team member who's actually directly responsible for logistics around all of this stuff. And she's been amazing, and she's kind of getting up to speed on everything that we're working on. I mean, she's actually been working with us a little bit through this whole process, but she's really stepping up to kind of make sure that these I's all get dotted and T's all get crossed. So if you haven't gotten the annual yet, it just means that your phone number wasn't taken from BackerKit and then put into the shipping information that goes to our fulfillment partner. And this is something we've been working with BackerKit on. They actually don't export the phone numbers when you pull data, and international shipping requires phone numbers. So we've manually had to go through and take all of those phone numbers, add them to the spreadsheets on the fulfillment side. And then as we do them in batches, we're doing them in batches, and then new shipments go out every day or two as phone numbers get added. As we get closer to the shipping for Frightening 15s, if you haven't gotten the annual by the time the Frightening 15, if your annual hasn't shipped by the time the Frightening 15s due, then your annual will get included in that shipment. So at the worst case, you'll get the annual along with Frightening 15. And at best case, they'll be coming before that. So that's the deal with that. This is actually kind of a weird failure. I won't call it a failure. It's a weird quirk of the BackerKit system where, that part of the information, didn't come through. Appreciate you guys in the chat who are saying that you like the annual. It's very cool. So let me bring Kevin in. Kevin, I think you and I have interacted a handful of times on Facebook. So excited to chat with you. Hello.
Hey, Kevin. This is Kevin. Sorry, I'm not the Kevin you think I am.
Oh, okay. Another Kevin. Hello.
I'm not even on Facebook. So you didn't chat with me on Facebook. I'm just a Kickstarter backer, and
not just a Kickstarter backer.
Just like joining in. I'm just like, oh shoot, I forgot they're doing this thing tonight, yeah. So I'm just late to the show.
No, all good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Awesome. Do you have a question or a comment or anything else that we can answer?
I mean, I got into your presentation so late. I apologize. I feel like if I asked a question, it would be something you probably already answered. I am excited to see what you guys, when this thing comes out.
Yes.
As a fairly ignorant comic book fan, it's a little overwhelming, the amount of different things you guys are doing. I'm just like, I don't know what's going to happen, but I imagine someday I'm going to get something from you guys that looks cool.
Yes.
I just saw your Kickstarter there. I'm like, this looks really cool. I'm going to buy it. Sure.
You imagine correctly, and I really appreciate that. Thank you. All right. Well, feel free to hang out with us here, backstage, or you're obviously welcome. I'm going to kind of take you back off the main screen, but if anything pops up, by all means, feel free to jump back in.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks, Kevin. Very cool. So yeah, I think that's most of the stuff that I see, in the comments or things that people have up over the past couple of weeks.
I think the only other big complaint was the just a couple people that were having issues logging into the website. And
okay, yeah, we can shift gears to what's going on with the platform for a minute. After one more thought about Pre-Code Horror, Archie, and Authentic Editions. So I want to explain one other element to how this works, because I think this is one of the things that may not be clear to people. And it does speak directly to the timing of getting, being able to, have this, handful of books at Comic-Con before being able to get them out to backers. So even if we wanted to get them out to everyone first, and that would have been the ideal scenario, this is what actually happens. So this is the logistics of how this actually works. So we've got, even just in the Frightening 15, let alone the other 55 books. So this is a microcosm of the full collection. So between all the different flavors and variations of the Frightening 15, we're printing, I want to be careful I don't say the wrong number here, but this is not going to be the right number. So we're printing in the ballpark, tens of thousands of copies between the 15 different books, between the different flavors. So all those books get printed. The two batches, as we talked about, regular covers and fluorescent covers, those will get shipped to Bulu, which is our fulfillment partner. Then the red foils and the silver foils will get printed. Those will get shipped. So what they are getting from us, and this is why we picked Bulu. Bulu's specialty is in what's called kitting. And so when you think about a mystery box or any sort of subscription product, like it requires a company that's good at this kitting process, because what they get from us is the books, they get the custom boards that we print, which you guys saw with the annual. They get Golden Age bags, high quality Golden Age bags. And then they get the posters, and they get the trading cards, and they get the collector's boxes, and then they get an insert that we made, which you'll see when those arrive. So there's all these different pieces which all show up at the fulfillment center, and they're coming from multiple printers, multiple suppliers. So our first job is get everything to them. Now, once they have them, their team needs to do a few things. They need to take each book, marry it to the correct backing board, because if you saw with the annual, every one of these books comes with a unique digital twin. So you have a digital reader copy that's available to you everywhere through our platform. So each book married with the correct backing board. So that means the fluorescents get the right fluorescent boards, the regular covers get the right regular boards. They're labeled with the fact that you've got they're labeled with the logo and the number. So it's the Chamber of Chills 19 regular fluorescent, red foil, silver foil boards. Those all go together. So each book goes with its board. Each of those goes into a Golden Age bag. Now you've got SKUs for each individual book. So now you've got 15 times 4 different variations. Then we have the boxes. This is the kitting part of it. They pack and pick to take each of the right sets, put them into the collector's boxes. If you are a 48-hour backer, then your poster goes in with that. Everyone else gets the trading cards as stretch goals, and then those get packaged. Now we've got the box sets. Then those box sets get packed into an interior box, and because we are determined that these are going to get to you without them being damaged, they then go into a second exterior box. So they're going to be a little Russian doll to unpack. And so this is all going to go, step by step by step. As those are all put together, then they start shipping. So just to, give a specific timeline around that, these are leaving the printer, heading towards Bulu in the regular and fluorescent flavors within the next few days. Silvers and red foils will be in about a week, depending on the arrival. It'd probably be 2 weeks, honestly, depending on the arrival of the red foil, so that they can then get printed and sent out. As soon as Bulu has them, they'll kit together all the books, boards, and bags. So those are all waiting there. The boxes have already been shipped. The posters have already been shipped. The trading cards have already been shipped. So those will all be waiting there. So they'll be going through a process for about a week to 10 days, getting all those pieces put together. Then they start shipping them. So we are looking at, probably 2 weeks before the first shipments start to go out. And then the foils probably about 2 weeks after that. So as we have a really firm timeline around that, we'll put that out as a backer update as well. But I just want to, give everybody some transparency on kind of what we know at this moment as far as the timeline. So I see a couple other comments popping in here in the chat, and then we can also talk about platform stuff or anything else that people want to know about.
So
go ahead, Tony.
I was going to say real quick on some of the comments coming in now. A lot of it seems like anger out of the wanting to expand the collection and get it into more people's hands.
Yeah.
And I kind of understand where they're coming from, at least on a backer standpoint. But I want to remind everybody that these aren't going to be resold as the backer sets. What we've purchased is done, and that's not going to be made again. So if there are more of these books that are produced, they're, like he said, they're going to be a different print number. They're going to be volume 2 or print run 2, and it's not going to be in the boxes. It's not going to be the same thing. So I don't know. Me, again, like, I'm biased, but I don't see an issue with that. I mean, I still see us getting exclusivity.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's address this directly, because Robert, I see your comments in the chat, and I appreciate you popping in here and chiming in. So, first and last time you'll ever back a Kickstarter, totally understand. If this is not, this experience has not been good, then I apologize, and it's too bad, because there's a lot of amazing stuff being done on Kickstarter. But totally get it. There are also a lot of Kickstarters that don't fulfill, beyond having problems. So that is a true thing as well. If we wanted to have, if you wanted these books in 100,000 people's hands, as you said, you should have just done them, should have signed with someone and set a release date. Well, sort of, but we couldn't produce these the way that we wanted to by doing that. So as I mentioned a few minutes ago, you can't actually sell these in this fashion through through traditional retail channels. You can't do a 10-cent cover price for retail, for example. We would have to put a UPC code on it for retail, for example. So we actually could not do a true reproduction of the books in that fashion. And so that's a clue that says if we ever do take them to a direct retail channel in some capacity, they will not be the versions that you guys are getting through Kickstarter. So the fact is, you change the plan for your benefit, backers be damned. That's just not true, man. So no part of me is a backers be damned kind of a person or attitude. Like, it is quite the opposite. And I apologize. I know you don't want to hear me say I apologize, but I do apologize if you feel that way. That is genuine. But no, we did not change the plan for our benefit, backers be damned. We have had to roll with a lot of punches through this process, and we have met every one of those challenges to the best of our ability. And if that is, not been satisfactory, then again, I apologize. It is ultimately my responsibility that we're late. It is ultimately my responsibility that everything has gone the way that it has gone. And I will be the one to stand up and say, it's me. But we have also done everything we possibly could do to make this as successful for the project and ultimately to deliver something that we feel incredibly proud of. I've been making content of different kinds for 25 years, and I have honestly never been more excited about something than I am about this project. And it's about the feeling of having them in your hands. And that might sting in the context of saying that we're going to get them into some, a handful of people's hands before yours, unfortunately. But it is something that we think people have to be able to feel and touch. And I almost said taste, but not necessarily taste. We did not make a choice, backers be damned. We had an opportunity to partner. You might have missed this earlier, to partner with Titan Comics, and we're doing a bunch of stuff with Titan. We had a chance to partner with them to make a very small number, 100 copies of Just the Fluorescence, available at Comic-Con. We've done literally no marketing to this point. We haven't even announced that they're going to be there outside of you guys. And by the way, every announcement comes to you guys first. That's part of the way that we try to give some extra value is, if there's anything that we're doing that you want first dibs on, we want you to have first dibs on it. So, I understand there's a lot of people that are not going to be at San Diego. And so, if you wanted to be there and wanted to get them there, you can't. I understand that. But again, we announced it to backers, so you would know what's going on, and maybe someone else is going to be there, or who knows. But if there's an opportunity to be first in line, you're going to have that opportunity. Yes, the long ass wait and shitty outcome. I don't necessarily agree about the shitty outcome. I definitely agree about the long ass wait. No question about it.
I can't speak to the outcome because they're not here yet, but just having the annual in my hand and being able to read that and see the paper stock and just everything, the colors. I mean, I can't imagine what it's going to be like unboxing an actual set.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be absolutely awesome. So just to follow this thread though, I mean, so Tracy, if you're still listening, when did you decide to go from a backer print run to a crap ton to make more money? So are you saying only backer print run was done and more in the future? We haven't made a decision about that, quite honestly. So at the moment, there is no specific plan to do an additional print run. I'm also not promising that we won't do an additional print run. As I said at the beginning of this, this project for us is not about making 1,000 copies of, Chamber of Chills 2021. It's about making this snapshot of a time and a place in comics history available to people. And if 1,000 people want that, that's kind of the minimum that we can generally produce to make it at all viable. If 10,000 people want that or 100,000 people want that, we would like for those people to have access to it. That does not mean, once again, that the additions that you're getting through Kickstarter are just going to be reproduced to a 100,000 print run. We're not doing that. We already have not done that. We're not doing that. So we will absolutely, balance this the best we can. The more feedback we can get from backers about what you want, the better it is for us to be able to plan how we're doing this going forward. And I'm not saying we won't make mistakes. I'm not saying we haven't made mistakes. We will make mistakes along the way as we're kind of learning and figuring this out. And then we'll do better on the next one, and we'll do better on the next one, and we'll do better on the next one. Like this is the first project from this publishing line. It's the first project from us in this format. It's the first time anyone has ever created something like this. Like the number of problems that we've had to solve to even make this a thing that could exist in the world, you have no idea. And I'm very proud of that. Our team has done an incredible job, going through this process and figuring this out. And the timeline has also been, I'll say, in polite terms, fucking nuts. So that part has absolutely sucked. No question about it. And I do genuinely share your frustration in how long it has taken to get this from, we're going to be able to deliver this in 60 days, which we genuinely thought we were going to be able to do. Insane in hindsight, but we genuinely launched the project with that belief, to now 7 months late, and we're finally getting these into the place where they can start shipping. I don't know what else to say about that. So you guys suck, and we'll make sure people know it. Well, by all means, do so. We've also got a lot of really positive responses from people, so far. So we'll see how that plays out. There isn't any value to anyone to make something extremely rare, more rare, or perpetuate exclusivity. This is bigger than any one of us, and I'm grateful considering alternatives. Frankie, thank you. I do want to point out something about, we're all comics fans. We're all comics collectors. I've been collecting comics since I was 6 years old. I am I've been the Wednesday Warrior for a big chunk of my life. I went through a phase in high school. The first time I was ever in debt was in debt to the comic store from too much of my pull list. And I was also one of those kids that was like, buy one to read, buy one to save. I've got my, bagged copies of X-Force with the Deadpool card in it. I've got all the different, flavors of silver inks and gold foils and everything that started in, the rampaging 90s. I was definitely an Image kid, like all that stuff. And what's interesting in my mind is, if you look at the most valuable books, some of that is certainly driven by rarity and exclusivity, but also it only becomes valuable when people care about it. And so you can have a print run of 1,000 copies or 200 copies, and if nobody cares about that book, it's not worth anything. You can have a print run of 1 million, and if 10 million people want it, it's way more valuable. So it's just a supply and demand equation, and this has a lot of nuance to it beyond just how many copies get printed. And once again, we're not doing a massive overprint. We're barely overprinting anything in this run, and mostly it's to protect against spoilage or damage. Because I think people would be very pissed if we printed just to the orders and then something got damaged in fulfillment and we didn't have anything to replace it with. So we're trying to protect against that. That's the majority of any numbers that are printed over the orders. I'm not going to an auction to buy any one of these for 1,000. Yeah, and that's the other thing I do want to point out. Like, Suspense number 3 is currently a 6-figure book. So, you're getting it for $10. That's a 64-page book that you're getting for $10. So I do appreciate like all of the concerns here, but I also believe we're delivering a ton of value for, what we're able to put together here.
Hey, Eben, I've seen this asked, I think twice, by maybe the same person, but as far as are the books the same that are going to SDCC? We've talked about this a lot, but they're the same in the fact that it's the same one variant, but these aren't complete sets. They're not boxes going out. There's not,
So
mass production of this.
To restate it, all that's going to be at San Diego Comic-Con, we've got 100 copies of just the fluorescent variants of each of the Frightening 15. And we might sell all of them. We might sell none of them. I honestly have no idea. So that's part of why I wanted to have them there was not to screw you guys. It was to see what happens when these show up in a place that there are fans, and what are people's reactions to them. I haven't had the chance because of the delays to see what do people do when they get to hold these, when they get to see them, when they get to experience the feel of them. Like, that's incredibly useful for us to understand what people's reactions are. We'll get that from you guys too, I hope. But it's still going to be different being there live and in person than, getting it through what I hope will be unboxing videos and reviews and, the things that will probably come as we do get these shipped out. So there's more to this, and it's none of it is, screw you guys. None of it is that. So yeah, I think, Kevin, if you've got a friend that will hit up the booth at SDCC, that's great. So these are going to be at the Titan Comics booth at San Diego. So 100 copies, just the fluorescence, no bonus.
I'm really curious.
Not the box sets.
How many of the people that are so angry even bought fluorescence?
Not more than about 1,500, because that's about how many sets of fluorescence there are. We're laughing. I don't want to minimize anybody's upset or concern around this. That's not the intention either. But this is not it is not intended in any way to be a middle finger to anyone that supported the project. It is quite the opposite. And I, again, have nothing but respect and appreciation for every single person that backed the project, that's commented on it, that's reacted positively or negative. And you, everyone here, like the fact that you're taking your time today to come in and have this conversation, positive or negative, means a ton. Like, if you didn't care, you wouldn't be here. And I appreciate that you care.
Yeah.
So again, it's not intended to be a negative thing. It's, intended to be a positive thing for the project. And I believe, and if you disagree with me, I'd be interested as to why. I believe that if the project is successful, your books will be more valuable. If the project as a whole is not successful, your books will be less valuable. So it seems to me that our overall longer term incentives are aligned, that if this becomes the very first collection of authentic editions and more and more and more people want authentic editions, that first collection becomes a crown jewel of everything that comes after. So I think, that's kind of how collectibles tend to work. And I think that's what will happen. First to market after, this is from Tracy, first to market after we waited a year, got it. Talked to Mark Spears on how to run a Kickstarter to make something rare, but also other copies for the masses. I love Mark Spears. Might be something to say about that later. Tracy, I hear the comment. It hasn't actually been a year, not to be too much semantics about this, but we are 7 months past the original ship date. It's going to be 8 months by the time they do actually ship. So we're getting close, but we're not quite at a year. We've talked to a lot of people about how to run a Kickstarter. I mean, the thing that's crazy is we actually kind of did everything you're supposed to do going into this. And then we've had a huge number of things that we've had to deal with, and a big part of that story still to be told, which will be told. We've consulted with a number of the people that have run the most successful Kickstarters of all time going into this, and had direct help, support, and planning from those people. This is a different animal. Like, this project is a little bit of a different animal as far as wanting to create something that is, so specific that, we even questioned, was it right to do variants? Like, when we first started, could we justify doing that, considering the nature of the project? Like, every bit of this, right or wrongly, has been scrutinized internally. And again, not to say we won't make bad decisions at times or make mistakes, but it's not for lack of careful consideration. Kevin, thank you for saying the annual is amazing. I can also not wait for you to get the Frightening 15. Sunny says, but for those with the FOMO mentality, it would be salty because San Diego Comic-Con limited edition. Yeah, I mean, that would have also been that we printed something special for San Diego, which we didn't do or want to do. Like, this is just, it's a small sliver of the actual collection. Tracy said, I don't mind an additional printing as long as it isn't the same. It won't be the same. So we've talked about this a couple times. If we do any additional printings, they will not be exactly the same. There will be a differentiation between this original first printing. The issues that have now been printed, that is it for the first printing of these books. So those will not go back to press as the first printing of these books. Scott says, you really are biased if you can't see that everyone who backed the Kickstarter should get the books first before you do anything. I agree. This is like a sad timing thing. So, like, I agree everyone should have gotten the books first. If we could have gone to press a month ago and everyone could have had these first, you would have them first. Like, there was no, there's no thing going on here behind the scenes about, like, we're going to go do this over here before you guys get them. But the choice we have to make is, do we not have this small batch at San Diego that does so many things for the future of the project and the line, or has the potential to do that, or not? I mean, it's a tough call to be in. And I think if you're looking at it through the lens of how to make this successful long term, I don't see how we pass that up with Titan and everything else that's kind of going on there. So go ahead, Tiny.
Well, it's just so many people saying that you guys want to do this for financial gain.
And we're losing money on this. I'm just going to say that very clearly. Right now, this project is not in profit.
It's not. I mean, if you talk about financial gain as in helping the project long term or just building brand awareness, yes. But I mean, financially, like, instantly, it's not like you're going to sell thousands of books. I mean, like, it's not much. It's not that much. And I get it. The point is, backers should have it first. I'm a backer. I've also been waiting. I guess I'm just more patient than the average person. I don't know, more forgiving, but it's coming. It's coming. It's all happening.
I mean, I own the company and I don't have copies first. Like, these are going to be the first copies that I actually get to see. So, I'm actually seeing them for the first time at San Diego, hot off the presses. This is just unfortunately the way the timing worked out. It is not a conspiracy to do anything, that we shouldn't have done. And again, I do apologize for the frustration or the upset around it. I also think it's the right decision for the project. Are there any plans for digital copies of the books in the works? Yes, we have a very specific and special way of doing digital. Every book comes with a QR code that you can redeem for a digital reader copy. So we built and are building a whole platform for everything that we're working on, from Authentic Editions to other types of publishing and storytelling and content and collectibles. Every copy comes with a free digital twin that you can redeem on the Macroverse platform. We don't intend to do kind of traditional PDFs, and there's a bunch of reasons for that, but you absolutely get digital access with every physical copy. There's no positive responses. I've heard not a single one, but I haven't heard the explanation yet. Beyond Wednesdays. What explanation are you looking for Beyond Wednesdays? The explanation of why we're bringing them to Comic-Con, or the explanation of why things have taken so long? If you're still here, if you can tell me what you would like me to explain, I'd be happy to explain it. Robert, I'm sorry you're pissed, man. I really am. Tracy says, Sunny, people back projects they expect to be the primary customer for their earliest support. How hard is that to understand? I do understand that, and I do think you're the primary customer for the project. Like, nothing that we're doing is available anywhere outside of you guys except for this one batch going to Comic-Con. You will absolutely have everything before anyone else. The regular covers will not be seen before you have them in your hands. The foils will not be seen before you have them in your hands. The rest of the 55 books, as they go to press, we have no plans of having them anywhere else, before you have them in your hands. So this was a kind of unexpected opportunity that popped up, and we felt like we needed to take it. It was not intended as a slight against backers. Word is Tiny is still looking for me because of my local pull list box. Well, I think my comic store owner might still be looking for me from high school, but so what's the answer about the STC books? Yes, they're the same as the ones on Kickstarter, just the fluorescence. So this is, again, I mean, to me, it would be more of a slight to have special editions going to Comic-Con that were exclusive to Comic-Con. That would mean they were something that you guys didn't have access to. So Frankie says, yes, but why? Purchased first, so I should get first. What's the value proposition? I definitely agree you should get them first. I wish we could have gotten them to you first. This is again just a kind of a unfortunate situation for timing with printing and shipping that we're able to get this batch to Comic-Con. Everything else is going to you first. Lead with that. If there are overprints for damage, then say that. Yes, there are overprints for damage. That is primarily the overprint. Robert says, I hear a lot how you want this to be this and that, and you want it to be in so many people's hands. Dude, had I known that was your plan, I wouldn't have spent as much as I did. Okay. I mean, that wasn't necessarily our plan. This is, I guess this is the thing I kind of want to underline. Like, we are a startup. We're a new company. Macroverse has been around for 5 years, but this part of the business has been, in development for over 2 years, but has really only been operating for a year. This was our first Kickstarter, it was our first project. We went into it with a bunch of expectations and understanding, some of which proved to not be true. None of it was, pulling the wool over anybody's eyes. Nothing, I promise you, nothing that we did or said was a bait and switch on our part or any sort of intention to mislead anyone. There was absolutely zero of that, and there has never been anything but zero of that. So, I do not think, given what we have had to, given what we've had to do to solve this and have this actually exist as a thing in the world, I do not believe there is anyone on this planet that could have made this happen better, faster, or in any way that, would have been something different than this. So the San Diego question is, I think, a legitimate question, but the rest of it is, everything that could be done has been done to make this the best thing that it could possibly be. And I don't know how to address that other than to, say again, I don't think the spirit of this entire project and endeavor is not about gatekeeping people out of it. It's about inviting people into it. And so, again, we don't currently have 100,000 customers for this. And if we did, we might, need to all get together and put our heads together on how to make sure that that was done in a way that would, service the project, the collectors, the, backers, if it was through Kickstarter, how all of those elements come together. We don't have that problem at the moment. So right now you're dealing with a very small collection of books where, as a backer, the largest print run for any of these is right around 5,000 copies. And the lowest print run for the red foils is about 400 copies, and everything else is somewhere between. So, nothing that's been printed in this collection is flooding the market by any means. And if we ever do any additional printing, as we've said a few times, we'll do it in a way where it's very clear that this first printing is distinct from anything that we do going forward. Beyond Wednesdays, no one cares about the boxes. Well, I think you might like the boxes when you see them. It's actually like the coolest thing you could ever put on a shelf when you actually see them all together, gotta say. So I gotta disagree with you on the boxes, but fair. The fluorescent should be Kickstarter only. Honestly, look, here's what we had to figure out the printer. I did not ask for the fluorescents to be what we could bring to Comic-Con. When this came up, could we have a small quantity available for Comic-Con? Did it make sense to have a small quantity available for Comic-Con? The fluorescents were the ones that was possible to have for Comic-Con, to be able to make that timing work, given where they were in the production of the covers and the interior. So this was not actually a specific choice. I would not have brought the foils. I would not have done that, because I do think, when you're dealing with the quantities that we are with the foils, like, I was sensitive to that and felt like, we didn't want to have that be the thing that people, got a hold of outside of the Kickstarter. But the fluorescents felt reasonable to me. The regular covers would have felt reasonable to me. The regular covers were not able to be ready in time, and I wouldn't have brought both. I wanted one set that we could use to expose people to the project at Comic-Con, and those were the ones that were available. This is the problem with technical people. They spend all the time explaining to people about their technology and process, totally missing the business principles. Antoine, I'm not sure if you're talking about me as the technical person or the person missing the business principles. But either way, probably a little bit guilty of both in the way that you're saying it. Let's see. You should not, Tracy says, bro, you're just not getting it. Backers should be the priority before randos. I'm agreeing with you. Backers are the priority before randos. This is a one-off thing that, for many reasons, I felt like we should do. But that does not negate backers being the priority. All right. So, Robert, Tracy, I mean, I you guys are going to hate me saying this. I hear everything you're saying. I don't think there's anything that I can say that's going to, make you guys feel better about this. So, we are where we are. And Robert, you want to flip this? You're not going to have a problem flipping this. When people see these, when people get to smell them and taste them, people are going to want them. I have no question about that. So if anybody here is looking for this as a, something you can turn around and resell at a higher price, you're going to be able to do that. I'll be shocked if that is not the case. not financial advice, not investment advice, but everyone that has seen them, and those including yourselves very, very shortly, people are going to want them. Are you going to keep the live up or take it down when the backlash intensifies? I'll keep it up, man. I'm not running away from any of this. Like, that is not my style. It's not how we run things. I feel like this is going to hurt your business more than anything else. Just my opinion. You might be right. You might not be right. We'll find out together. If this is to get a return and flip for those, you don't, but also I don't care, as this wasn't the point. Yeah. To me, this is not the point. Like, we did not go into this designing the campaign intentionally for flipping opportunities. I think that I do think that there will be a demand greater than the supply. And that means there will be opportunities for those of you that want to sell them or resell them or sell parts of them or whatever it is that you want to do. But this was designed for people that want these books. That was the whole, that every decision we made about the campaign was made from that point of view.
I will put this out there too. I mean, like, we're still daily having people ask if they can still buy pre-code horror. So there's people out there actively looking to purchase it that cannot get it. So I mean, it's already happening. Yeah,
it is. And there are a number of people that are, asking and waiting. And so, even with that, I mean, we're not, we will likely end up with a very small supply that is assuming that we can, that we minimize any damage or issues in the fulfillment. Our expectation is we'll end up with a very small supply. And we will make those available to you guys and to people that are in the Facebook group or on the backer list first. So before we, make them available anywhere else, if anybody wants them, you'll be able to get them. And I don't know how to prioritize the backers more than doing that kind of stuff. Like, anything we do, you're going to get first dibs at. And if you decide you don't want them, then we'll, make them available to other people. But I don't, if you've got other ideas about how we should do that, then I'd love to hear it. I see that Kelly has come into the chat. Let's bring Kelly up. Hi, Kelly.
How we doing?
Doing good. How are you doing?
I'm all right. Sorry, I missed the first part of this.
No, all good. What's going on?
Oh, I actually, full confession, I'm at work. My job, apparently.
Well, thank you for joining us at work.
See what was going on. I know you read my Facebook post about this particular issue.
Yeah.
Somebody had made a point that he said, I wish my personal problems could be so much that this was a huge concern.
Yeah.
My understanding is you didn't print up anything special for SDC.
Correct.
These are what, leftovers? These are what, extra copies?
Yeah, they're not leftovers. It's 100 copies of the fluorescent variants from the Frightening 15. So each of them, we took 100 copies to allocate for this. So, I mean, the way that this all came about, and if you missed the first part of the conversation, we're doing a bunch of work with, or not work, but we're doing a bunch of projects with Titan Comics at this point. So this is kind of, you're hearing it here first, before an official announcement, but not just in the authentic editions category, but with some other projects as well. We've been doing covers for them for their Heatseeker series and some other things. And so as we were chatting with them about being at San Diego, it came up that it would be great if we could actually get these in front of people at what is essentially comic, mecca. And, so much of our theory and what we believe and what we've seen so far is that the tactile experience of having these in hand, is really where you actually fully understand what they are. And so, we were able to work it out with the printer to take the same, so be very clear, the same print run, the same timing of printing and binding and getting everything ready to ship to the fulfillment partner, which will then ultimately put them together and send them to you, but instead take 100 copies and send them off, in time for San Diego. So it's that's how that came together.
Yeah. For me personally, like I said, I just decided I'm not real concerned about this. You have been so transparent about all the issues that have come up, all the problems. I mean, you're doing this. It's not like you're running away from us.
Yeah, no, not at all.
So I'm just looking, like I said in my post, I'm just looking forward to the day when that box arrived.
Yes.
Basically everything. I've got a shelf dedicated in my comic area.
Yes.
To set up to display them. I'm just anxiously awaiting when they do arrive. I have every confidence they're going to. So.
Thank you. Well, Kelly, I appreciate that. And just to geek out with you for a second, because like I only really realized this when we got the box comps, and I don't know if you were on when I was showing these, but like, so this is, not the correct materials, but these are the comps. And so like, this is just the Frightening 15. If you got the full everything set, like it's going to be, there's not enough room for me to back up to show how awesome this is all going to be when it all lines up. So, I really do think, like somebody said, who cares about the boxes? I think the boxes are freaking awesome.
Well, I think they are too. And I think they're just going to look good on the display shelf. Then when you're ready, you can just pull a box out, read some comics, and
that's right. Exactly.
Back in. Like I said, I'm really looking forward to when that box arrives.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait to get it to you, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate you supporting the project and taking some time at work to jump in and say hello as well.
Can't wait to see what your next project's going to be.
Awesome. Well, Archie's the very next one, and then we've got a bunch more after that. Yeah.
Hint, hint, true crime. True crime. Yeah.
Yes. I think. I guess I'll say without spoiling too much, like this era has been. I mean, I was into this before we started the project, but as we've really gotten into each page and really, I said earlier, this to me, it's become this fascinating history of a true snapshot at a historical time and place, filtered through this material and this particular set of creators that are putting this stuff together. And if I can, kind of really geek out for a second, it's not even just the quality of the material, which so much of it is even better than I thought it was when we started the project. There are things that they're doing in Punch Comics, for example, which you associate with like the Image era, where you got like double page spreads and like huge figures breaking panel borders. And I'm like, this is happening in the 40s. And some of the quality of the artwork and the storytelling is just way beyond what I think people associate with this era. And so it's become this real, passion project for me of kind of looking at each of the series and then each of the stories within those series. And you can kind of look at the time and the place that they were happening and kind of a how quickly they're making these books as well. So like, you're getting kind of real time evolution of the cultural, impact of different types of, opinions on different types of people. And, obviously when we're in the war, there's a bunch of Nazi and, Japanese, things filtering through into the stories, and just that month by month, issue by issue kind of evolution of that to me has become like a really fascinating, component of all this. And they're just cool. So
absolutely. Yeah. And most of the content will be questionable by our own standards.
Yeah. 100%.
It's actually very important that we understand the historical mores of the time period.
That's how we feel about it too. We had a bunch of I think that's 100% it. We had a bunch of internal debates of do we are there any of these issues that we shouldn't print because of some of the insensitivities, and that's what we ultimately came to. Is important for people to see that. And again, it's even more interesting if you do look at the entire run to see, just the way that, Native Americans were depicted in, this issue. 4 issues later, that depiction is radically different, which speaks to kind of an evolving, even over that short period of time, an evolving sensitivity and evolving opinion about, who this type of person is. And so I think it is actually a very important, kind of historical artifact as a part of our pop culture and, everything else that goes into this stew of ours.
Absolutely. And again, for most of us, average Joes like me, we would never get to see or read these comics.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah.
And now I can. Now I can actually hold the comic in my hand as close to the original intention of the publishers back then today. Yeah. And I think that's a beautiful thing. I think that's historically, I think it's important.
Yeah.
I love the fact that reprints that they're doing. seeing those old ads and seeing those stories.
Yeah.
And all too that otherwise I'd never get to see. So
Yeah.
that's why I backed this project immediately. I thought it was fantastic and a great idea.
Thank you, Kelly. I appreciate that.
All right.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you again for joining us from work.
Thank
and
you.
If there's anything else, feel free to reach out at any time. I do try to make myself as available as possible for anything.
I'm collecting all the badges daily.
Yes. I'd love to hear it.
I don't know what you're going to do with them, but hey, it'll be a great surprise.
We have big plans for the future of the platform. So yes,
Good.
those badges will not be a futile thing. So glad you're getting them. Awesome.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Kelly. Have a good rest of your day.
All right, you too.
Bye-bye. All right. Well, appreciate that as well. All right. So I'm going to go through a few more comments here, and then we're going to have to start wrapping up. Let's see. Sinister Titan says, the problem is most people support Kickstarters to get something rare and exclusive. So if you reprint it or sell extra copies, it ruins that experience for the backers. I think there is a category of that. What I'm fascinated by, and I guess I'd be curious how some people feel about this side of it, is, we have seen a lot of traditional publishers coming and doing things on Kickstarter where there's a Kickstarter edition, and then, everybody knows there's going to be a mass market edition that comes later. And we didn't know when we started the Kickstarter whether there was going to be a mass market edition that would come later. So we didn't say that because we weren't sure, and we're still not 100% sure what that looks like, if that becomes a thing in any way, or if this becomes something that we continue to do exclusively direct to consumer or through other campaigns or extensions of other campaigns. We don't know yet. So we're trying to figure out, what the best approach is. And we're happy to hear everyone's thoughts about what you think would be the best way to balance that. But I also know, Kickstarter, direct to consumer, whatnot, crowdfunding in general, has become a significant portion of the indie comics world, and more is becoming a bigger slice of the overall comics world. We should have another conversation. I could talk to you guys for 3 hours about, my thinking about the comics industry as a whole and some of the things that we're trying to do to ultimately support the industry as a whole. That may not be evident at this point, but, we actually think there's a real need and opportunity to help, kind of evolve the way that some of this stuff is currently done. And one of those things is some of what we're speaking to in Kickstarters about, how to preserve the specialness of that and how to mitigate projects that don't actually fulfill their promises. Like, we have some ideas about how to address some of those things a little bit down the road in our own way. But I think, to something we said earlier, again, no single issue of anything from Pre-Code Horror is getting more than 5,000 copies printed. So it feels pretty rare and exclusive to me. And if you disagree, let me know what you think would have been a better way to do that. Let's see. Most flippers buy a set to keep and buy extras to flip to pay for the set. I love that plan. I used to do that occasionally as well. I know Tiny is doing that right now. Not with this project necessarily, but with other comics on a daily basis. Tracy says, pointing out semantics is the problem here. 8 months past ship date, 1 year, etc. All that in the point goes over your head as to why people are upset. I think I get the point as to why people are upset. I don't necessarily agree with the point. And I hope we can agree that we can have, different opinions and still be excited about the ultimate result of the project. I hope. I can't say it more clearly. Nothing in this whole process has been done to intentionally take advantage of or upset or even directly to maximize profit around any of this. None of that has been the core of our decision-making around any of this. That's just the way that it is. Just putting a second print on the inside isn't enough though. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, guys. Like, this is something let's workshop this in the Facebook group. Not in this call, but I think if and when we do get to a second printing, if the goal of the project is to make these feel like you pulled them off the newsstand 50 years ago, how far do we go in changing that to artificially create some level of scarcity? I don't know the answer to that. I think it's a legitimate question. The original comics are rare and exclusive. The first printings are first printings, but none of these will ever be as rare as the OGs. 100%. 100% correct. I was cool 8 months late and I was copacetic, but SDCC getting them before back is ridiculous. I understand that some of you feel that way. Is there a refund option for people not willing to wait any longer? At this point, not really. I mean, you can email kickstarter@macroverse.com. And if you're really, really determined that you don't want to wait for delivery now that we're within about 4 weeks of delivery, let us know and we'll see what we can do. But we have, locked the print run down at this point. Everything is in motion to deliver it. So email me if you want to have a conversation. If that is the case, then don't sell at SEC. I won't back another project again. All right, Gary, I hear that. I hope you will, but if you don't, that's okay too. Let's see. You pass it up to be loyal to your backers. Do it at New York Comic Con. At this point, we can't. So at this point, we're locked in. Everything has been shipped. Everything's been delivered. If we had this conversation a month ago, maybe there could have been a different outcome, but this has been so fast and furious with putting it all together. We didn't even have the opportunity to have it a month ago. So if you feel like we made a misstep here, then I'll own that we made a misstep, in that circumstance. But we made the best choice we can make. I don't really know what else to say about that. Let's talk about how you plan to protect these books during transit so they'll arrive in mint condition. Lucky the annual arrived okay, but could have gone horribly wrong. Yeah, the annuals, anyone that got a more recent delivery of the annual noticed that it came in a box, not the original mailer. We did have a number of annuals that did get damaged in transit, and we were able to replace every single one of them and ship it in a way where it would not be damaged. These box sets are going to be double boxed, so it's a Russian doll situation for you. So they'll be in their box sets, in an internal box, in a padded external box. So we're doing everything we can to make sure that they do arrive in mint condition. That is why we have a small overrun. Is hopefully we won't need it for those purposes. But if something is damaged, we'll do everything we can to replace it with a version that's not. All right, I'm going to skim through the rest of this. Unfortunately, we are going to have to kind of wrap up. We've been here for, closing in on an hour, actually 2 hours. Let's see. I mean, I hear you guys. I know you don't like me saying that. I do. I'm hearing everything. I'm reading everything. Donald says, what about the Archie Kickstarter? Is the bonus book for ordering both going to remain exclusive? So the bonus book for ordering both is Pep Comics number 16. At this point, there is no plan to do anything with that book other than give it to the people that backed both campaigns. I guess I should clarify this though, like the way that printing works, it is not feasible in any way to print 100 copies of something unless we were to do it in a bad offset or bad digital press on different paper, which is never going to look very good. 1,000 is pretty much the minimum that makes any sense to print with the time and materials and expense that it takes to actually print these the way that we're printing them. So I wouldn't expect that anything is going to have fewer than 1,000 interiors printed. And so for PEP 16, there probably will be 1,000 copies. So everyone that ordered both campaigns will get it for free. That's the bonus for backing both campaigns. Whatever additional number left over, we'll have to decide, what the best way to make those available are. They will, of course, not be free for however those ultimately get released. But we'll probably do 1,000 because it doesn't make sense to print less than 1,000 interiors of anything. Not when you're printing, professionally on offset presses. Way behind on the comments. Yes, I am way behind on the comments. Let's see. I'm seeing if there's kind of anything else that we haven't covered. Tiny, I am way behind on the comments. Anything you're seeing that I'm missing?
No, I saw someone, Bill was touching on the international shipping, which we did talk about, but just to get to him, since he asked, the annuals, I think some of them have been shipped internationally, but if you haven't got them.
Yeah. So as we were explaining earlier, the way that we get the shipping information from BackerKit is, we export a report on all the backers. It's a flaw in the system that the phone numbers don't export with that report. So we've asked them to help us resolve that for the future. But in the meantime, we have to manually go through and add phone numbers to the shipping information so that they get shipped out. We're doing that on every day or two. We're going in and adding more phone numbers, and then every day or two, new copies of the annual are going out. So if you haven't gotten yours yet, it just means you're either in the queue and it's coming, or absolute worst case scenario, when the Frightening 15 ships out in a couple of weeks, it'll get added to your shipment. If it hasn't been shipped to you by that point, you'll get it with the Frightening 15. Quick call. Let's see. Looking. Frightening 15. Okay. Gary says, is this the same strategy for the Archie project? There's not a strategy here. This is just an opportunity. So, I would say it's not the same strategy for the Archie project. We'll deal with Archie as we can put it next in line. Let's see. Anything else you see?
No, a lot of the same.
Archie Jackpot set was teased as being more exclusive than the other books. The Kickstarter copy says Jackpot Comics 1 through 9 is exclusively available as part of the everything reward tier. Yeah, Kent, that's a good point. And look, I think this is an area where I think you've raised this before, and I think your point about how we message that is a really good one. I really do want to say, and I hope you can hear me being sincere here, none of this was any kind of, there's no intention of baiting and switching on any of this stuff. Like, that is not where we're coming from. That is not who I am as a person, as a creator, as a business person. Like, it's just not how we operate. So anything that's come across that way, certainly not the intention. Some of these things that we did, and I think we're kind of learning from the way that we messaged it, the way we organized the campaigns. And this is actually a really good example where I think if we were to go back and do this again, when we do this again, we would think about this differently. What we wanted to do with the Jackpot set was do something really special for the biggest supporters of the campaign. So if you got everything, here's an exclusive set available, for those backers. What we didn't really realize or account for, and this is part of the larger story that I can't quite tell just yet, is we had some wrong information going into both projects about some of what we were going to be able to do on the printing side. And one of the things that we believed going in was that we would have more flexibility about quantities for printing. So we actually didn't think it would be as much of an issue to do, something that might have 100 copies or, a few hundred copies. And so this was an area, this is something where we were told one thing and then the truth turned out to be something different. And so the truth is, it really, on this paper stock, on the presses that we're using, with the way that these actually get printed, We're actually printing these on old presses to make them as accurate as possible. So just turning on the press to run the paper, it doesn't make sense to print anything less than 1,000 copies. In fact, you have, and I should say that more clearly, you have to print 1,000 copies. You actually cannot print 100 copies. You have to print 1,000 copies. So the option is you've now got 1,000 copies of these books. You can either have 1,000 copies to get into people's hands, or you can literally destroy 900 of them so that you can have 100 copies to get into people's hands. So that's where we're at with anything that's less than 1,000 copies. Is I don't see why we would not just have 1,000 copies. And then the question becomes, how do we take care of the people that did provide the biggest support with something like that set? And, I'm open to other ideas around this, but it seems like the way to do that is to have that set, the collection, be the thing that we can guarantee as an exclusive package. And then if there are another, 900 copies of the loose individual books, then to me, our current thinking is you make those available as individual issues at a 50% markup. And so as someone that got the set, you're the only one guaranteed to get all 9 of the issues in the run. And you're the only one getting it in the collector's box set. And that seems to be, so far, that's the best solution we've come up with of how do you keep that level of exclusivity and specialness for the full run, for the full collection, but not just literally destroy the other 900 books that we had to print when we went to press with them. So that is how that has played out. And I think the messaging around that and how we communicate that in future campaigns can be different based on what we now know. I hope it will be available for me to buy single issues later on to further continue the collection. The single issue thing is the other element of this, which we're still experimenting with. So we'll take feedback on that as well. We made single issues available, again, at a 50% markup as we were locking the print run for the Frightening 15. We're doing the same thing with Archie. So if you want single issues for Archie, those are currently available, again, at a 50% higher price than they were just by backing the campaign. They don't come with the collector sets and those sorts of things, but those are still currently available until we lock in the print run. So right now, that's our strategy around it, or our thinking around it is, you get a cheaper set, you get more bells and whistles, you get more collectible components backing the campaign, and you get guaranteed full runs by backing the campaign. But making the singles available between the time that we know they're ready to go to press and the time that we lock the print run creates a window of opportunity for people that either couldn't or didn't back the full campaign. Where did it state in the Kickstarter copy that you were always going to print 5,000? Nowhere, because we didn't know that we were going to print 5,000. And we didn't print 5,000 of every book. So the 5,000 is based on the largest number of orders, the largest number of interiors. So the Frightening 15 has the largest number of orders. And the 5,000, I should clarify, is the interiors. It's not 5,000 copies of every cover. That's the total number of interiors that were printed. From that 5,000 comes the regular covers, the fluorescent covers, and the foil. So it's all the same interiors with the 5,000 interiors. So that's a point of clarity there. Let's see. Will international be shipped? I never got the annual in Canada. Yeah, sorry, Bill. I think we mentioned that earlier. You definitely will get the annual. So if you're not in the queue right now, at worst case scenario, you'll get it when the Frightening 15 comes. Yeah, Kevin, I saw that you said your mailer was a little squashed, but the comic wasn't too bad. For the annuals, if anybody did get a damage annual and you didn't let me know, email us at kickstarter@macroverse.com, and we will replace any damaged annuals. We want to make sure that those do come to you in pristine condition. Will you be going to shows as Macroverse? We will be at Los Angeles Comic Con, and as Macroverse. We got a few panels. We'll be there with some, not just Authentic Editions, but some other stuff that we've been working on. So yes, we will be at LA Comic-Con. I believe that's in September. Mark Spears seems to control his print runs. Yes. So again, this is a distinction of the way we're printing these. If we were doing, like, if you're following what Rob Liefeld is doing, which I kind of love right now, he's doing very small print runs, very, very highly collectible, 100 issues, 200 issues at a time. It's not that that's not possible. It's just not possible with this process. So we're printing on newsprint, we're printing on old equipment, we're printing with traditional metal printer plates. So every time you spin up the press, there's a cost to that, which is what makes it prohibitive to print less than 1,000 copies. There's a certain amount of paper that actually has to get used just when you turn on the press. So that's what creates the 1,000 unit requirement for the way that we're printing. If we were doing digital printing, you can do amazing digital printing these days. Where printing 100 copies is feasible. You just need to sell them for $50 a pop, like Rob is doing. So, you know, it's not that that's not possible. It's just not possible with this. Let's see. Why not go on Beyond Wednesday Industry Show? I would absolutely be happy to do that and love to do that. I actually love talking about this stuff, even the tough parts of it. Let's see. Make the extra copies different. I mean, what would be your suggestion? So black foil, magma foil, negative space, whatever. I mean, it's a great idea. So with the foils, as it turns out, our low print runs of the foils, red foils and silver foils, are almost they're essentially break even. By the time we put them in the collector's boxes and put the other pieces together and pay for the kitting and fulfillment, they're actually probably slightly negative as far as any profit margin on the foils. So they're going to be awesome. We're very excited that we're making them, but we can't do 100 black foils or magma foils or anything else. It is just not feasible to do that. It seems like this was a successful Kickstarter, and it was, but it's not like we're sitting here with a pile of cash from you guys and trying to figure out what to do with it. Like, we are having to manage, this like a real product, like a real business, and there's profit and loss in every single part of what we're doing. At the moment, we'll be lucky to break even on this. Fortunately, we still very much believe in what this is and where it's going. And we think there's a lot of opportunity and a lot of excitement on our end to keep doing it. So we think, this is not if this was purely based on, how much money can we make on this project, it would make no sense to do any more of these. But it's not about that for us at this point. It's about creating something that can become something over the next 10 years, which is where all of our thinking is coming from. Let's see if there's anything else. There's a lot more from from everyone. Let's see. These commonly go astray and sometimes never arrive at all. You read the same disclosures from that's what Donald said. We did print the guts and have different covers. I should have clarified that. So yeah, again, the 5,000 is the interiors. Sonny, I'll take you up on dinner at your place. Just let me know when and where to be there. We'll figure it out. All right. So look, guys, we've been talking for a couple hours. I've done as much as I can, I think, to address as many sides of this as I possibly can. If you're not happy, I am sorry that you're not happy. It will keep me up at night that you're not happy. I'll be thinking about this as to how far, what else we can do going forward. We'll continue to adjust. We'll continue to learn. I think that's what I can promise. I can promise that we will take the feedback. We will take the missteps. We will take the information that you guys have shared with us. We'll take the upsets and we'll learn from it. And, that is my promise. Beyond that, we're going to continue to try stuff like we just are. And so, that's kind of where we're at. So I'm going to continue to be active in the Facebook group. If anybody wants to talk directly, perfectly happy to have, personal direct conversations as well. We've been a little late in an overall update on Kickstarter also because of dealing with all the logistics of getting this out the door. So I wanted this to kind of be a chance to, whether you agree with me or not, at least for you to kind of get a sense of, where I'm at with this stuff and how we're taking it in. I hope that we can actually have more group conversations, because I actually do find them very helpful and useful. And I hope that some of this was useful for you guys as well. Beyond Wednesday, I'll be in San Diego. We'll be at the Titan booth. I won't only be at the Titan booth, but I will certainly be checking in at the Titan booth. And if you want to DM me directly while you're at San Diego, and if anybody else is going to be there, then happy to connect with you guys directly. Just DM me on Facebook and we'll connect. I think we're gonna call it a day. Live interview for San Diego. Yes, indeed. We love that too. All right. Sorry, guys. I'm a little bit fried at the moment, and I'm also a little bit distracted. I apologize for the tail end of this. I don't know what else to say other than, again, I appreciate everybody's time. I appreciate you guys taking the time to come be a part of this. We've been talking for over 2 hours. I hope that some part of it was helpful and at least kind of level setting where we're at and kind of the reality of where we are with the project. I'm still very excited about it. I hope some of you are still very excited about it. We do have a lot planned, not just for this, but for everything that we're working on and building towards. And I hope that a good number of you will choose to kind of stay on the ride and see how it evolves and continue to give feedback. It really is very valuable and useful. Tiny, is there last thing that you want to say before we sign off for the night?
No, again, just wanted to thank you for taking the time to come in and address all this stuff with everybody. And, again, hopefully everybody watching and participating is not too upset, and, just encourage everybody not to lose any faith in this project and keep the passion in comics and be good to one another. Whether you agree with someone or not, we're all entitled to opinions. So respect that and treat each other nicely.
Yeah, I would echo those sentiments as well. I mean, I truly am happy to have all the feedback. And you can bring me any bit of this, any of it, all of it. And I really will try to do, whatever I can to address it, whether we agree or not. It is truly valuable, and it will be taken into consideration at the very least as to how we make decisions going forward. And at the end of the day, yes, at least we're all passionate about these books, and nothing says more about the quality of the people in this conversation at any side of it. The fact that we're all here because of a passion for this industry, this art form, this type of storytelling, and this era. To me, that's it's a glue that it means a lot to me. Like, comics have meant a lot to me over the course of my life, and it's great to be a part of making them. It's great to be a part of talking about them. It's great to be a part of being in a group of people that share that passion. So for that alone, thank you to everyone. And with that, I am ending the stream.